Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about how we can become the solution for our problems in our life. Now, this might be a shocker, but we are often the problem when it comes to our life and what is happening, right? We are responsible for the circumstances that we have fallen into. Even though some things might be out of our control, how we think about it is always in our control. There's something that no one else can control, our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. And so if our thoughts are in line with success and happiness and fulfillment and doing great things, if our feelings are we're aware of what we're feeling and how we operate in our day, no one can control those. And then our actions. What do we do when we're supposed to do something? What are the distractions we do instead of doing the things that we want to do, the things that we wish we could do? It all stems from our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. We have full power and full control over that. But there comes a time when we say, you know what? I'm going to compare myself to someone. I'm going to compare myself to a situation. Oh, this happened to XYZ person. They weren't able to survive. But that doesn't have to be you. You get to decide if you're going to make life something amazing or if you're just going to let life happen. Most people sit on the waysides of life. Most people are going to make excuses for all of the problems and all of the dilemmas that they have in their life. But we can become more proactive in our day. We can become proactive in our life. We can become the solution. And so today I'm going to be having a solution coach, Tracy Pleschourt. She's going to be helping us understand the work that she does, helping people become the solution to their life, to their problems, to their ailments, to whatever else obstacle they're giving themselves, and then begin to take action in an appropriate way. Because there can be a way that can be unhealthy, but the way we speak about today is going to be full of care, full of nurturing, and full of understanding that where you are right now, we have to look at that. We have to be proud of it, and then we can begin. So let's begin with that interview with Tracy and myself. Welcome, Tracy Pleschourt, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Today, we're going to be talking about your work as a solutions coach, and we're going to be getting into your history in just a moment. And I do want everyone to know that Tracy is an amazing person because she understands the value of family. All right. Before we got on, I don't mean to throw out your business, but I am. He had her nephew say, "Hey, can you show up to my game?" She was like, "Yeah, I'll do my best to get there. I'm very busy." She's a busy woman. She reached out to me. "Hey, is there any way we can do this a little bit earlier?" And once I heard the story, I said, I'm moving everything, because it is so important to show up into the people that look up to us, that give us inspiration. And when you're a solutions coach, that is what we're looking for also. So in your own words, Tracy, tell the world who you are, what you do, and how you help.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for your flexibility. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course.
So what I do is I really help people understand how they keep themselves in a space of suffering, and it's so unnecessary. So I created a system from which you can operate your day, your weeks, your years, or your life from. And it really relieves people of the unnecessary suffering. So I come out of the world of advertising, which at the time I thought I had hit the jackpot of all careers. Such a fun industry to work in. You get to be surrounded by all of these crazy creative people, and you get to work on the sexiest of brands. And then it was very clear to me that I was actually being called for something even greater. I walked away from a pretty large salary. I had kind of risen in the ranks to the highest position that I could get to, and took a huge risk to start my own business. But I knew that I had so much more to offer. And so I took this leap of faith. Thankfully, I had a husband who had a very stable job and allowed me the privilege of being able to, redirect my focus. And I created Self-Made You, which is an online coaching company that helps people really start looking at themselves as the solution. If you're anything like me, you've probably spent years and years and years believing that you're the common denominator to all of your problems. And I help people really look at themselves as the solution. And I take them through 4 very simple steps to utilizing themselves as the solution and really building from that a sense of confidence and a sense of self-control so that they go on to use the exact same system in unlimited ways. And so I remain here as their coach to really help them continue to apply it to all the different circumstances in their life. And it's the most rewarding career. I thought I had it good at one point and it just got better. So I have a lot of my own stories and examples to use to illustrate and to teach from. I used to be an overdrinker. I used to be an overeater. I have started this business from scratch. And so there was certainly a lot of self-sabotage that goes along with that. And I just very authentically and genuinely use myself as the example. I am a student of my own work, and I have such a strong conviction in what it looks like to think of yourself as the solution and to tap into those 4 strengths or 4 steps under any given circumstances. And so I love being on podcasts where I can just teach, and teach, really helping people walk away with something very tangible that they can apply it to like right now. And so I'm so excited to be here.
Perfect. And we're going to get into those 4 steps in just a moment. But I do want to ask the question, what stops people or what gets people into the mindset that they're not the solution, that maybe they have to look to an outside source for their safety, for their livelihood, etc.?
Yeah, I would say that it's 2 things. Often it is our past experiences. We are every single day, every moment of every day, we're kind of sorting and sifting through experiences, and we make meaning of those experiences. And that meaning is coming from the primitive part of our brain. We all have this 3-pound organ that exists between our ears. And if you think of it just kind of cut straight down the middle, the left part is the primitive part, and its objective is to keep you alive. And it does it in a very dramatic way. It offers you all sorts of fear-based thoughts in an attempt to keep you alive, to keep you safe. It often sabotages us. If we believe those thoughts, if we don't question those thoughts, it doesn't end well. It almost always ends in self-sabotage. So the first is our past experiences that we've made meaning from that often doesn't serve us. And then secondly, I would say it's more of the inherent strengths, the strengths that we were actually born with, but they often get overused and abused. And they too, when they're overused and abused, they end up showing up in a more self-sabotaging narrative. It's thoughts that we're hearing, but they're actually working against us. And their origin is our strengths. So, for example, I often hear hyperachiever type narratives. Well, it has me when I believe those kind of narratives that say, if I don't succeed, if I don't hit my goal weight, I'm a complete failure. Or I have to be the best at playing pickleball, or I'm not even going to play it at all. Those are the kind of thoughts that have me feeling empty. It has me fearing vulnerability. It has me feeling unworthy. When I listen to those kind of narratives, those are the types of feelings that I end up living my life from. But what's so interesting is the reason why those thoughts are even showing up in the first place is because I've had a lot of experiences in my life that I made meaning from that told me that I have to be the best or don't even do it at all, or that I can't be satisfied with good, or that there's always room for improvement. And the strengths, I happen to be a very driven, pragmatic, goal-oriented person. I have a strong capacity or capability of growing other people. Those are all the strengths that when used, not overused, but when used, they yield the results that I want in my life. But they can lean into being overused and they start showing up in this way where I start hearing these hyperachiever narratives that tell me, good isn't good enough. You have to be great, or don't try it if you're not going to succeed. So the answer is kind of two-part. It has a lot to do with the past experiences of our life that we've made meaning from. And secondly, the inherent qualities that often get kind of overused and start to sabotage us.
Yeah, many people are going to look at, well, if I can't do it well, then why start? They wait for the perfect moment. Oh, I'm not ready yet. And they're going to keep on putting off. The podcast is a great example. When I started the podcast, I didn't know anything about the podcast. I had a buddy who did radio for quite some time. I asked him a couple of questions, but that was it. It wasn't until I got into podcasting, and probably like the first 100 episodes of the podcast were trial and experience. And so I learned and I was able to grow from it. But many people don't want to go through those first 100 episodes. Many people are going to say, well, I want to be on episode 200. Give me the magic juice. And the magic juice is start. Start where you are. Don't be worried about being perfect every moment. There's going to be moments when you make a mistake. There's going to be moments when you're like, oh, I learned from that. And then we grow from that. Many people are afraid to grow in the sense of from their failures. They want only the successes, but we don't grow extremely from our successes alone. We need those failures. And I'm sure as you learned starting your business from scratch, you had some failures, you had some hiccups. You're like, that's a great learning lesson. And then you were able to create the program that you have today. I want to get into those 4 steps that are going to help people to become more solution oriented.
Yeah. So because I am all about creating frameworks to make learning easier, I use the framework or the acronym SELF, SELF. So again, it really teaches you how to think of yourself as the solution, how to utilize yourself to better understand yourself, to stop looking outside of yourself for all these magic bullets, but to go inside introspectively and really tap into your unique abilities, to tap into your own wisdom. So the first step in self is start with a decision. So no matter what circumstance we're talking about, this could be the circumstance of increasing your income, or starting a podcast, or losing weight, or healing a relationship. It doesn't matter. You have to start with a decision. Now, this might sound so simple and so fundamental, but I'll tell you what, it's the one thing that almost everybody overlooks. I will get hundreds of people coming through my coaching program who, when I say, what is it that you want? They're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, well, just tell me what brought you here. And they're like, well, and they've never stopped to even ask themselves, what is it that I want? Why do I want it? Where am I in relationship to where it is that I want to be? And it's not that they don't know that answer. It's not that they can't access the answer. They absolutely can, but they have to ask the question in order to have awareness as to what the answer is. And so that first step, starting with a decision, is hugely important. Decide what it is that you want. If you're somebody right now who's feeling completely out of control and desperate, it's because you haven't decided what it is that you want and where you are right now in relationship to where you want to be. You haven't decided how it is that you're feeling right now, because I'll just spoiler alert, that's the reason why you are where you're at, is because of how you're feeling. And so we teach you all of this. There's little techniques, little tips and tricks within each one of these steps, but anybody can take what I'm about to tell you in regards to these 4 steps and start implementing them right away. what we do best at Self-Made You is we'll come alongside of you, support you in further mastery within each of these steps. But I really want to stress that anybody, upon hearing this for the first time, can take this and implement it. So start with a decision. What is it that you want? Why do you want it? Where are you in the context of where it is that you want to be? How do you feel about that? What's the emotion that you're feeling right now? Those are the kind of decisions that I want you starting with. Second step, eliminate the self-sabotage. Self-sabotage runs rampant in our life, and you have to have an awareness of what those narratives sound like that you are most prone to listening to. So, for example, the judge. The judge narrative is so universal. That is where you're either judging yourself or you're judging others or you're judging circumstances. Judging a circumstance is like, I'll be happy once I have 50 clients. I'll be happy when I finally weigh this amount, right? It's like you're reserving happiness until you achieve this like never ever ending moving target. It constantly moves, especially when you are somebody who reserves your happiness until you achieve something. So that's what it sounds like to judge a circumstance. I think we all know what it sounds like to judge ourselves and judge other people. You should have done this. You shouldn't have done that. I never can get through a day without scrolling Instagram. Like it's very punitive, right? It's very punishing, the type of conversation that you're having with yourself. Knowing that you are prone to hearing that specific narrative is everything, because now you can look out for it, because you can't fight the enemy that you can't see. So we want to shine a light on it. So we offer our clients an assessment that really shines a light on these saboteur narratives. And then we give a lot of tips and tricks on how to question those narratives that you're hearing so that you can calm it down and not react from it. That's what we do from our primitive brain. We react, whereas we teach you how to operate from your prodigy brain, the other half of your brain, the more extraordinary part of your brain, so that you're responding. You're not knee-jerk reacting, you're responding. And when you're operating from that part of your brain, now you can leverage, step 3, leverage your strengths. So the strengths like empathy, having empathy for yourself, having empathy for other people, it changes everything. When you are operating from empathy, unconditional love, compassion, it's an entirely different result than when you're operating from fear, disappointment, frustration, overwhelm. So we teach you how to intentionally tap into that inherent strength of empathy, discovery. When we're operating from our primitive brain, we have blinders on. We are narrowly focused on what it is that we believe, and often that sabotages us. So we teach you how to take off those blinders and actually see what else is going on. What other factors might be at play here that I'm not seeing, right? So discovery is another strength that you can tap into. Innovation is a third strength that you can tap into. But of course, you can't access it when you're operating from your primitive brain. So we teach you how to access it when you're operating from your prodigy brain. And then that fourth and final step is finish with a decision. So you have start with a decision, finish with a decision, and you have these 2 steps in between that help you eliminate the self-sabotage and leverage the inherent strengths that you have. So that finishing with a decision looks like, what is the next best step that I can take with confidence? Like that's what you ask yourself. And again, it seems so fundamental. It seems so simple, but without knowing how to coach yourself, which is exactly what I've just taken you through, asking yourself, the art of asking yourself questions and answering them, you start to move towards what it is that you want. Whereas if you have no awareness of how it is that you're feeling, no awareness of what's causing those feelings, you stay stuck. You just spin out in the self-sabotaging behaviors. So We help you understand what it looks like to go through your day with self-control, to literally create the day that you want. And so we start by teaching people how to plan out their day. It's like days turn into weeks, which turn into, months and years and lifetime that you can look back on and be like, yeah, I was intentional about that. I decided what I wanted to create. And it starts with, the start of every day. So we start there and we teach people how to make a decision ahead of time about what it is that they are going to think and feel about the commitments that they've made. And it's beautiful because it yields so many results. It changes so many lives. So we do free masterclasses on this exact skill. So we call it creating your self-made day, really deciding ahead of time what it is that you want to create from your day. So we have a free masterclass, and I'll make sure that your listeners get the link to that because we would love to hold their hand through this process because we know that it makes a massive difference in lives.
Yeah, I love those 4 steps. I think it's going to be the great start or the best start for many people. One of my early blogs, when I first started writing blogs, this was another thing that I was like, I'm not really good at writing blogs and stuff like that. But I was like, let me try it out. One of the first blogs or early blogs was self-coaching, was just helping people get into the mindset of working through it themselves. Because I understand not everyone is going to be in a situation where they can afford coaching or afford a program, but there's so many free things, especially in our world today. As you said, the masterclass is free. Join that, right? You want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
What we do here on the podcast, that's free. YouTube, motivational stuff is all free. Blogs, they're free. And it's because I understand that as people, we need some assistance. We need some help with our growing. We can get in our own way. And when you have someone there to not only shed some light on the areas where we might not be showing up, but also easy steps for us to take, it's like, oh, this is not so scary. Because I think sometimes people, they say, oh, I don't know where to begin. Okay, most people don't know where to begin. I love the analogy of like when you're trying to figure out where you want to be, right? Like, what do you want? As you said early on, look at a map. Where are you on that map? I don't know how to read a map. That's life. That is life. Where are you on this map? Where would you like to be? They might say, oh, I want to be here in Paris. Okay, well, at least you know where you want to be, but let's figure out where you are. And I believe that coaching is going to not only look at where you want to be, but figure out where you are right now. And then we build from there. It can be difficult when you have a marker. Let's say someone's doing really, really good. Like, let's say you have a family member, let's say a brother, sister, cousin, whoever you want to pick. They're doing extremely well. And you're like, that's my marker. But yet where they are right now is not where you are right now. So you're like, I can't start until I'm that marker. It's the fallacy that you have to be them in order to achieve what they have achieved. But it's so far from that. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's so funny that you're asking me this question because right before this call, just got off with a client who is really struggling with this compare and despair type mindset where it doesn't matter if she's in a relationship with a family member or in a conversation with a family member, or it's her job, or it's her weight. She said, I am constantly comparing myself to other people, my abilities to other people's abilities, my skill sets. And she's like, it just leads to such a dissatisfying life. And she's like, but that is where I always find myself. And so what I wanted her to know is how normal that is. She actually is looking at that behavior and really creating unnecessary suffering by judging herself for doing it, when in reality, it's very human of her to be doing that in the first place. And the fact of the matter is that she's noticing that tendency to do that. So that's the very first most important step, is to actually have awareness of what's actually going on, that she's comparing herself to other people, which leads her to feel inadequate, frustrated, overwhelmed. So having that fundamental understanding, being able to connect the dots between her beliefs being inadequate is what's leading to this feeling that she's like carrying around like a backpack day in, day out, and not before today, not even knowing why it was that she was feeling that way. It's because she believes that she's inadequate, because she's constantly measuring herself to external units of measure, either other people or skills or whatnot, where when she sees what's actually going on, she can start to question that. Like, is it true that I'm inadequate? Or maybe I just haven't had the same experiences, right? Like one of the things that she was comparing herself to was a promotion that her sister-in-law had just gotten. So I said, so are you and your sister-in-law in the same industry? And she's like, no, we're in two totally different industries. She's in sales and I'm in healthcare. Like, okay, so does it make sense for you to be comparing? Are you even comparing apples to apples? No, but without slowing down and looking at the facts, discovering the facts, operating from your prodigy brain and being able to kind of look at all the factors, she will just move through her day feeling super inadequate because of some misconception that she had that was coming from her primitive brain, her fear-based brain, telling her that you're either going to miss out on something, or if you don't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing at all, right? Those are all very dramatic, fear-based primitive narratives. And so we have to question it to actually even see the truth of it. We're operating from this misguided narrative, and you have to slow down, like really separate the facts from the story that your primitive brain is telling you. That would be the easiest takeaway that I can give the listeners, is when you feel this sense of inadequacy, or when you notice that you're comparing yourself or the things that you have or your life to somebody else, I want you to ask yourself, what are the facts? It will so quickly clear up how dramatic your primitive brain narrative actually is.
There's going to be a similarity in this question that is going to resonate with the last little bit. It's a metaphor. All right. We're going to look at the metaphor. We're going to change the metaphor to life is a race. And I want everyone who's listening, watching, to not let the race be a finish line. All right. So take the finish line, throw it away. Right. We don't need that. Let's look at the race stuff. In life, there's a starting line. But however, that starting line is going to be different for everyone that's partaking in this race. Some people might be at the start. Some people might be halfway in the race already. Some people might be almost to the end. But we do have to look at that. What is that, right? Could it be privilege, like people having a good upbringing, two parents that love them? Could it be circumstance? They have a lot of money, a lot of, like resources to get what they want. Or could they be at that start where they have to build everything from scratch? How do we get over that mindset and that hurdle where we have to understand a little bit of awareness, as I said, is going to be similar to the last question, but just a different way of viewing it. And then looking at everyone else that's in this race of life.
So I think that it is a mindset of, people looking at how far they have to go versus how far they've come. I think our normal experience, the messaging that we're exposed to, leads us to believe that we should be measuring ourselves and our abilities and our worthiness on, how close we have gotten to the goal. And I know you said take away that finish line. And the finish line is actually irrelevant because it is always moving. People who consistently live life as if they'll finally be happy when constantly moves, and they find themselves reserving happiness like until when? Until you don't have a chance anymore? So instead, I challenge people to always look at how far they've come. So that, starting point is so unique to each and every one of us. Like, look at literally from the day you were born, like how far you've come. You learned how to eat. You learned how to hold your head up. You learned how to go from crawling to walking. As you became a teenager, you learned how to drive, you learned how to carry on conversations. Like, there's so much to be proud of and almost be in awe of, because so many of these things feel so natural and like they unfold in such an organic way. Yet it really required a lot of you to be willing to fail. You can't learn how to walk if you aren't willing to get up on your knees and fall down without making that mean anything. You just make that mean it's part of the process. I think to answer your question, it would be recognizing 100% of the time how far you've come versus looking at how far you have to go. And secondly, being willing, really measuring every moment of every day. Am I willing to feel uncomfortable? Like, that is such a motivating, such a propeller factor. If you're willing to feel afraid, if you're willing to feel embarrassed, if you're willing to feel humbled, it cracks life wide open. But if you recognize your unwillingness to be expansive and feel those things and only feel the good things, it keeps you living in such a small place. So open yourself up, be willing to feel it all, recognizing that life is 50-50, 50% unwanted feelings, and it's 50% wanted feelings. Therefore, instead of resisting the unwanted, open up to it, be willing to feel it, knowing that you're going to learn a lot from it. And that then has you looking at how far you've come and being so proud of that.
And even if you're at the start of the race, you're at that starting point, understand that everything before that race, the training, the trial and errors, like maybe you had an injury and you recovered from it, and now you're doing something that maybe everyone that was in your corner said that you couldn't do. But there you are. You're there saying, I am representative of my efforts, of my actions, and of showing up. And it doesn't matter how close someone is to your goal, you still have the rest of the race to get there. Okay. It doesn't matter if someone gets there first. You are giving yourself that ambition. And it's so important. And I loved our conversation because it helps people understand that they are the person who's going to get there. They are the person who's responsible to get there, but that it is an easy step in the right direction by, learning the self acronym, and then by looking at your coaching program and then beginning the process. Before we, depart, I would love to get some final words from you, and then to please tell the audience where they can find you.
So, like I said, I really want people to have some actionable takeaways, and I don't want anybody to be confused onto where to start. And so awareness is everything. And like I said, making a decision about what it is that you want is always the first step. If you don't know what it is that you want, I would ask you to just make a decision on how it is that you're feeling right now in this very moment. That can give you a lot of control. Just being able to name how it is that you're feeling right now at any given moment. So many of us live life with a very limited emotional vocabulary. We can all name like the basic 5: happy, mad, sad, excited. But I want people to be more familiar and really expand their vocabulary on emotions so that at any given minute, they can articulate what it is that they are feeling and just own it. Then they'll start getting better at connecting the dots as to what's creating that feeling. But it all starts with, what am I feeling right now? So tell everybody, get onto Google, type in feelings wheel. You'll get a huge list of emotions. Have that up in the background or print it off. And then just every so often, check in with yourself. How am I feeling? And just reference that sheet and peruse it until you really come upon what it is that you, right then and there, are feeling. It's an awareness exercise. It's really, really helpful. So we have all sorts of exercises, but really getting to the heart of it all, really creating your self-made day is what compounds and leads to a self-made life, to a self-made person. So we would love for you to join one of our master classes. The month of October is when we really focus on productivity, and we teach you how to plan out the day that you want. And so totally free. We also have free coaching Friday where we'd invite you to, and you can find the calendar of all of our free resources at www.self-made, MADE, the letter U.com. There's calendars and resources and downloads. And then, of course, all of the paid support that we offer. But I would highly encourage your listeners to check out all the things that we have for free to get started.
Perfect. And I'll definitely make it easy. All the links are going to be in the description box below. Everyone check out what Tracy's doing. It is amazing there, okay? Because you are learning how to elevate yourself in a way that is going to create an understanding that, hey, I can do this. And I believe that is the start, right? Creating that awareness, understanding that if I'm feeling this way, you get to choose. Do I want to stay in this feeling or do I want to change it? So begin to change today with Tracy and what she does. The work is amazing. Again, all the links are going to be in the description box below. Thank you so much, Tracy, for coming on, spending some time with me today and talking about your work.
Thank you for having me. It was so good to meet you.
All right, everyone. I would like to thank you so much for watching that interview with Tracy Pleschourt and myself. What went on in that time is we learned the easy 4-step process that we can be applying in our life today. We learned about many different examples, many different aspects to how we can show up, how we can look at our life. There is an aspect that we have to understand that we are going to be the superhero in our life. Sometimes we think that, we're just going to put it off for someone else to do. This is someone else's problem. We have to start to take action. It can be difficult sometimes to take action, especially when the world is weighing you down, when you have a lot of stress and anxiety, fear. Those things are going to stop you in your tracks, and you're going to wonder why you're not doing the things that you wish you could do, or the things you want to do, or look at where you want to be. Most people, as we said early on, they don't even know what they want in life. They think they know what they want. They think they want the house. They think they want the car. They think they want all the riches and the fame until they get it. And until they figure out, well, this is not happiness. This is not making me happy. Yet many people, they will swear up and down, left and right, that would make them happy. If you ask a kid what they want, they can live in the moment. But yet adults, we live in the future. We live in the past. How can we become more present? We have to become aware. We have to look at what we are doing each and every day, what we would like to do, and then take action. Fine tooth and comb sometimes, looking at our life, figuring out, is this the right process? Is this the right step? Sometimes it is the right step. Sometimes we have to do a lot of work to get there. This is where coaching shines, because you might think, this process is going to be so much work, and it's almost like home remodeling. I have to remodel everything, my body, my mind, my memories, whatever. And then you give yourself this motivation in the beginning, and you're like, I'm motivated to do something. But eventually it starts to die down, it starts to fade. And then you're like, well, what's the point? What's the point, right? Even though we have gone so far, we have come so far in life, what's the point still? And we wait for that next moment, or that burst of motivation. New Year's is probably the perfect time for that to happen. Everyone's like, it's New Year, new me. And sure enough, they are living in this life and they're trying to give themselves that next prompt. This prompt right here is going to make me take action. New Year's, birth of a child, loved one, whatever. Someone passes away tragically. Those prompts can help us create awareness. But you know what can also create awareness? Us taking action. Us looking at our life and not being afraid to look at it. Get a magnifying glass. Look at the areas you want to change. Look at the areas where you're doing well. Don't worry about what other people are doing in the world. I can look at everybody who's doing better than me. Maybe they have more riches. Maybe they have a happier family. Maybe they have a more successful podcast. Maybe they have a more successful coaching business. To be honest, is irrelevant to me. They're not me. They can't do what I can do. They might get close to it, but truly they can never do exactly what I can do. What I do is unique, and what you do is unique also. The solutions that you figure out for yourself might be similar solutions to what everyone else, but how you get to it is going to be something that you had to think about, that you had to work on. It becomes your own. We take ownership to creating that. And we should be taking ownership in how we create our life. The journey that we're on should be unique. We shouldn't just be looking at everyone saying, oh, they're doing this. This is so great. And then sure enough, when you finally realize that life is not so much about the destination, it's about the journey. We are on that journey together, always. Let's start to apply a little bit of awareness to ourselves too. Because some days you're going to feel 100%. Some days you're going to feel like you want to stop, you want to give up, you don't want to show up. But on those days, if you can not only acknowledge the feeling, but surpass it. I can't tell you how many times I'm in the gym or I'm doing something that I don't want to do. And you know what I tell myself? And I say that out loud. People think I'm crazy. I go, no, I'm not done. I'm not giving up. I say it out loud. Because if I don't, maybe I'll just pretend I never said it. But when I say it, there's nothing that can deny it, that there is an obstacle that I need to learn how to overcome. Most often is my mind. My mind is going to trick me as much as anyone who is my enemy, anyone who is deceitful, anyone who is a narcissist, or I don't know if narcissists are liars. I think they are. But guess what? My mind is going to be what I need to start to focus on. My mind can be my greatest asset or it could be my greatest enemy. And I would rather it be my greatest ally. So I have to do the work. And so do you. Now, you might be on a different place or different space on that race. It's like Dr. Seuss over here, right? We are trying to get into the mindset of using what we have where we are. Sometimes we're going to need some abundance. Sometimes we're going to need some more skills and some more knowledge. We can get that along the way. Sometimes everyone thinks, oh, I'm going hiking. I have to prepare for my hike. But sometimes the most memorable hikes are when you're not prepared for. I remember one time I went on a hike, and this was like when I was in college. And to be honest, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have any provisions. I didn't have any food, water. I just said, let me go for like a little hike. Well, I get lost. And so I'm like, now I'm lost. What do I do? Do I say, oh, boo-hoo, I should have prepared more? Or do I get to start to live life a little bit more? I started to feel the fear. I started to feel the anxiety, maybe a little bit of stress at the time. But then I allowed my brain to work its magic. What do I do next? Long story short, spoiler alert too, I made it out. I'm here to tell the story. I'm alive today. We have the opportunity to do things unprepared and to still come out unscathed. It doesn't have to be perfect to start. You just have to understand that you're perfect the way you are. So begin to start today. Begin to become the solution for all your problems. Be the hero in your story. Be the person that's going to drive you to the highest peaks in life. So when you look around at what you accomplished, understand that the only difference between you and the person who didn't achieve it is that you started. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.